This is DJ Shadow hanging out with James Hyman on XFM, and you're listening to The Rinse.
Still here with DJ Shadow, playing loads of tracks, of course, of yours, including stuff from the new Outsider album. First studio album in 4 years, recorded over 3 years. Your third studio album in 10 years. I guess when you put it like that...
Fourth, if you include Uncle, which I do.
Of course. We'll include Uncle as well. That sounds like time flies when you put it like that.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm sitting here being defensive, and we're looking at a bunch of CDs that you brought.
A big bunch of CDs, which doesn't translate on radio. You can only hear them. Mm-hmm. But a hell of a lot. You've got a fine body of work here.
Yeah, I'm constantly busy. And
I don't mean to sound like your psychiatrist and sort of be tough on you and say all this, but one other thing as well, when I met you at the playback for the album, which I must say was an experience, having to sign record company to plug a personnel over there. It was pretty hardcore, that kind of, you are a number, this is your album, don't put this on the internet. I love how militant that was.
Yeah, I know.
That was good.
It's kind of it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't thing. Yeah. Obviously you want people to play it, but you know, you want them to sort of play it when it's supposed to.
Of course, exactly.
But then again, if you ask all of those things, then you're sort of being too demanding.
Yeah.
But
I was going to just say that I asked you a question there about your film work. I do a lot of music supervision for film and adverts, and you know, as I said to you before, off mic, pushing your love what you do. I think you really could do a hell of a lot more in that film arena. You kind of answered by saying, you know, your experience wasn't great working with some of the people you work with on film, which we'll play a little bit of that later. We'll play some Dark Days.
Oh, cool.
Which was insane film.
Yeah, great movie.
Incredible, really super. One of the best. I mean, way ahead of its time. And when now you get all the documentaries flooding. I think that one sadly was too ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But what? I mean, I'm almost nagging you here. Why? You know, why the hell won't you just do some more score and sound? You know.
The answer. I'll try and keep brief, but essentially, I mean, in Hollywood cares less about music than the music industry. And you know, you have some experience.
Not all of Hollywood.
Not all of Hollywood, no.
Your Tarantinos get their way, and
yeah.
I just,
for some reason, my music doesn't tend to appeal to people like that. I would have, you know, it's easy for me to kind of sit around and go, well, why hasn't Tarantino rang? But you sort of can't really live your life that way.
You can't. You have to go out and create these bloody opportunities, which is not easy in itself. You cannot wait for the phone to ring.
Yeah, I just feel like my job is to just make good records and then hope that...
But isn't your job also to make good records in an amazing arenas where people go, wow, even more in maybe unheard arenas? I just personally think... Seriously, with, you know...
Yeah, I also, though, my philosophy is that it's far better for things to happen organically and homogeneously than for me. I just have found that I don't get the results that I hope for when I sort of go out of my way to chase something. When things come naturally, or when, you know, natural kind of... Like, for example, I got Mos Def on a record because my ex-manager's dog decided to chase a stick into his little bungalow at a place in LA. I mean, I had no idea it was his bungalow, but yet suddenly my manager was meeting Mos Def, and Mos Def happened to be playing Preemptive Strike while when the dog ran in there. So, you know, just moments like that, I believe in a lot more than me kind
serendipity.
of like than me sort of stalking Tarantino and plopping him down and throwing a CD off his back of his head and saying, "You must put me in your next movie." I don't know. It's
I know what you're saying. You like it to feel like it's just happened, that it's not hard work, and you're not maybe the stalker vibe.
Yeah, or just even, you know, this is happening because it's a natural sequence of events rather than... and that makes it sort of sound like I'm really not ambitious and that I don't pursue things, which isn't really the case. It's just that when it comes to things that aren't within my direct control, as I feel the film industry is...
it's a horrific industry, but amazing at the same time. Totally.
Yeah, it's like advertising. I'm attracted to it, but repelled by it simultaneously all the time.
It almost, when you get so immersed in all this stuff, it actually becomes not what you're kind of, you know.
That's very true.
It becomes horrific.
Yeah, and at a certain level, I feel like because films are not my sort of bread and butter or primary industry, I feel like maybe it's better if I just sort of continue to really love it as a fan and not try and get too But that's not to say, I mean, if a great offer came tomorrow,
Good.
I'd entertain it.
That sounds
certainly.
better than what you said at the playback, which is good to hear. Seriously, I just, plenty of people I hear and digest. I mean, I spend way too much of my time listening to music, which I love, but I love spouting it back either on radio or getting it onto an ad. And you really are, I'm not just saying because you're here, you're high up there. A lot of people aren't.
I was, it's sort of like when I was asked recently, why don't you do a syndicated radio show?
And why don't you?
Nobody's ever asked.
Okay, well, we'll speak to the XFM heads and, so come on. You want Shadow on XFM. He's very XFM. We're going to play in a minute some 3 remixes he did. Can't be more XFM than Depeche Mode, Radiohead and Keane. Bring it on. Okay.
You're going to play all 3 in a row?
Yeah, we're going to play all 3 in a row. Not now, a little later.
That's interesting.
Yeah, good remixes. But I want to play a little bit of your film work then. We'll play some Dark Days and Stem, the Cops and Robbers mix, because you did stuff on Heat, right? Mm-hmm. Boy, was that rinsed. I hope you're checking your royalties on Stem, because I've heard that so many places.
Well, you know where you hear it though? It's like
it's always
the BBC
traders, yeah.
has, like, they have agreements with the labels where it's sort of like pennies.
Yeah.
So that's typical of my sort of...
well, now I've heard it on CSI kind of programs and all those things as well. And any dark, moody, sort of psychotic cop thing, bang.
I know.
It's Stem. And I have to say one more thing on Stem. I put the quote here, never heard so much tension created from a comedy sample about a guy getting a parking ticket. That's why isn't it?
Oh, right, yeah, of course, yeah.
The
yeah,
long
yeah.
stem or something. I mean, I had a long debate with a friend. I give him a shout here, Craig Leckie. I think he was Googling his arse off, like, who is the comedian? Because that's intense. You've turned comedy right on its head into some very dark, every time I get a parking ticket now, I get very scared.
It's the whole thing about sampling that I love, where like you could turn like something like a pro Ku Klux Klan rally speech into the most potent anti-racism, you know what I mean?
Genius
track or something like that. And I think that's what's the great. Sampling is all about removing the context, and I think that's a good example.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we'll play these 2 and we'll come back in a minute. We're going to have some Dark Days and Stem.
After they killed the first 2 guards, they didn't hesitate. Pop guard number 3 because what difference does it make? We want to hurt no one.